The day Marcus Carter shoved a folder across the polished conference table and told his wife to keep the useless gravel pit, everyone in the room laughed, except Naomi. 3 years later, those same people stood outside her gates, begging for a meeting they never imagined they would need. Nobody expected the divorce meeting to become a public execution. Naomi Carter sat quietly inside the glass-walled boardroom overlooking the city skyline. The room smelled of expensive coffee and polished wood. Lawyers whispered. Investors watched. Family members waited like spectators at a sporting event. Marcus smiled with complete confidence. He owned luxury apartments, construction companies, and several profitable real estate developments. Every newspaper called him the city's golden businessman. Naomi had spent 12 years helping him build that empire. She managed finances when money was tight. She worked late nights balancing accounts. She negotiated with suppliers. She even sold her late mother's jewelry so Marcus could save his first company during a financial crisis. Nobody mentioned those sacrifices anymore. Marcus leaned back. I'll keep the businesses, the penthouses, the investment accounts, and the downtown properties. He slid another paper toward her. You can have the old gravel land outside the city. The room chuckled. Everyone knew that abandoned property. 40 acres of rock, no water, no buildings, no value. Even the government had rejected development proposals years ago. Marcus folded his hands. You always believed hard work could make anything valuable. More laughter. So prove it. Naomi looked down at the document. She could fight. She could spend years in court. Or she could walk away with something everyone believed was worthless. She signed, without saying a word. Marcus smiled wider. He believed silence meant defeat. He never realized silence sometimes meant patience. The next morning, Naomi drove 3 hours outside the city. Dust covered her old SUV. The gravel pit looked even worse than she remembered. Broken fences, cracked ground. Sharp gray stones stretched across the landscape like an endless sea. Most people saw failure. Naomi saw possibility. Not because she knew there was gold beneath it, because she refused to let another person define her worth. The only people who stayed beside her were 3 loyal workers who had once worked for Marcus, Samuel, Grace, and young engineer Daniel. We're really doing this? Daniel asked. Naomi smiled. We're building something. What? I don't know yet. That answer sounded crazy, but it was honest. They cleaned the old office, fixed broken equipment, sold scrap metal. Every dollar mattered. The first 6 months were brutal. Some nights Naomi slept inside the tiny office because fuel was too expensive to drive back to the city. Bills piled higher. Friends stopped calling. Family members politely suggested selling the land. Even Marcus heard stories about her struggle. Whenever reporters asked about his former wife, he laughed. She's chasing rocks. His interviews went viral. People laughed with him. Meanwhile, the world kept changing. By 2026, AI-integrated geological scanning had become affordable enough for smaller companies. Daniel approached Naomi with an idea. I've been studying new mineral mapping systems. They're expensive. I know, but not impossible. Naomi stared at the last numbers in her account. Buying the equipment meant risking everything. Again. She remembered selling her mother's jewelry years before. Some investments looked foolish before they changed lives. She nodded. Order it. The equipment arrived in wooden crates. It wasn't glamorous. Sensors, drones, portable AI mapping units. 3 weeks later, the team began scanning the property. Hours became days. Days became weeks. Nothing. Then, one afternoon, the sensor froze. An alert appeared. High-density mineral signature detected. Daniel frowned. This can't be right. Grace rescanned. Same result. Samuel checked manually. Same coordinates. Nobody celebrated. Not yet. False readings happened. They dug carefully. 1 foot, 3 feet, 6 feet. The sunlight reflected against something buried beneath the gravel. Daniel stopped breathing. Tiny golden veins crossed the exposed rock. Silence filled the site. Then Grace whispered, Naomi. She couldn't finish. Naomi slowly knelt beside the discovery. Tears filled her eyes, not because she saw gold, because she remembered every insult, every rejection, every lonely night, every person who called her foolish. She placed one hand on the rough stone. We're not finished. Professional testing confirmed it. High-grade gold deposits, much larger than anyone imagined. News traveled quietly at first. Naomi refused media interviews. She hired experts, environmental engineers, mining specialists, legal advisors. Everything would be done properly. No shortcuts. No greed, no reckless digging. If you're already feeling Naomi's journey, take a second to subscribe, leave a like, and tell us where you're watching from. Stories like this remind us that today's rejection can become tomorrow's greatest victory, and your support helps bring more of them to life. Construction began. Modern equipment replaced abandoned machinery. Solar-powered facilities reduced operating costs. AI systems monitored safety and production 24 hours a day. Within 18 months, the forgotten gravel pit had become one of the most advanced private mining operations in the region. But Naomi didn't stop there. She remembered what poverty felt like. She remembered employees losing jobs because executives wanted bigger bonuses. So she built differently. Workers received fair wages, health insurance, training programs, scholarships for their children. Nearby businesses started growing. Restaurants reopened. Schools received donations. Roads improved. An entire struggling community slowly came back to life. People no longer called it the gravel pit. They called it Hope Ridge. Across the city, Marcus's world began falling apart. His luxury developments slowed. Interest rates climbed. Bad investments multiplied. Several business partners abandoned him. One executive secretly moved company funds. Another leaked confidential information. Marcus finally experienced betrayal from people who claimed loyalty. Investors disappeared. Friends stopped answering calls. Magazine covers vanished. The same television hosts who once praised him now questioned his leadership. His empire wasn't destroyed overnight. It collapsed one bad decision at a time. Marcus often drove past newspaper stands. One headline caught his attention. Woman builds million-dollar enterprise from abandoned land. He stared at the photograph. Naomi stood wearing a simple safety helmet. No designer clothes. No expensive jewelry. Just confidence. The article never mentioned him. That hurt more than criticism. Months later, Marcus secretly drove toward Hope Ridge. Security gates stretched across the entrance. Electric trucks moved efficiently between modern buildings. Drones monitored operations overhead. Everything looked impossible. A security guard approached. "Can I help you?" Marcus swallowed. "I'm here to see Naomi Carter. Do you have an appointment?" "No. I'm sorry." Marcus looked beyond the gate. Hundreds of employees walked proudly across the property. Nobody recognized him. Nobody cared who he used to be. For the first time in decades, Marcus felt invisible. He requested another meeting. Denied. Another. Denied again. Finally, Naomi agreed. Exactly 15 minutes. No more. Marcus entered her office. He froze. The room wasn't luxurious. No gold decorations. No oversized desk. Instead, photographs filled the walls. Employees, scholarship graduates, community celebrations, families. Success wasn't displayed through wealth. It was displayed through people. Naomi entered. She looked calm, confident, peaceful. Marcus barely recognized her. "You've done well." Naomi smiled politely. "Thank you." He hesitated. "I made mistakes." She remained silent. "I wasn't thinking clearly." Still silence. "I'd like another chance." Naomi folded her hands. "Another chance for what?" "Our partnership, our marriage, our future." She looked directly into his eyes. "The future you signed away?" Marcus lowered his head. "I was arrogant. Yes, I thought success belonged to me. It never did." He slowly removed a folder. "I prepared a new contract." Naomi almost laughed. The irony was impossible to ignore. Years earlier, he pushed papers across a table believing signatures controlled destiny. Now, he returned holding another contract. This time, he needed her signature, not the other way around. Marcus slid the document toward her. "I don't want charity. I want to earn my place." Naomi opened the folder. It wasn't a business proposal. It was an apology, handwritten, every page. He admitted taking credit for her work. He admitted humiliating her publicly. He admitted choosing pride over love. He admitted believing money measured human value. Naomi finished reading, then quietly closed the folder. "I forgive you." Hope briefly appeared across Marcus's face. But forgiveness isn't the same as restoration. His shoulders dropped. You once asked me to prove gravel had value. She stood and walked toward the window overlooking the operation. I did. You were right. Marcus looked confused. She continued. The gravel wasn't worthless. The marriage built on disrespect was. Silence covered the room. Not angry silence. Final silence. Marcus understood. Some doors close forever. Not because of hatred, because wisdom refuses to repeat history. If this moment hit your heart, subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts below. Tell us, if you were Naomi, would you have given Marcus another chance, or would you have walked away forever? Marcus slowly stood. I suppose this is goodbye. Naomi nodded gently. I hope you find peace. He walked toward the door, then stopped. One question. She waited. Why didn't you become bitter? Naomi looked outside. Workers laughed together during lunch. Children played in the new community park nearby. An elderly couple walked safely along a road her company had funded. She smiled. Because bitterness would have kept me digging through my past. She paused. I chose to dig for my future instead. Marcus left without another word. Weeks later, Hope Ridge announced its largest investment yet. Not another mine, not another expansion. A technology academy. Young people from struggling neighborhoods could study engineering, geology, artificial intelligence, finance, and environmental science, free of charge. Many graduates later returned to work at Hope Ridge. Others launched businesses of their own. The wealth beneath the gravel had created something even more valuable. Opportunity. Years later, visitors often asked Naomi where the company's greatest treasure was found. Some expected her to point toward the mining tunnels. Instead, she pointed toward the academy. The gold helped us start. She smiled. But people became our greatest discovery. The abandoned gravel pit that everyone mocked became a symbol across the city. Not because gold had been hidden beneath the rocks, but because courage had been hidden inside a woman everyone underestimated. Marcus once believed contracts created ownership. Naomi proved character creates legacy. One signed away a future. The other built one from the dust. And in the end, the richest thing she ever uncovered wasn't buried underground. It had been inside her all along. If Naomi's story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Remember this, people may overlook your value, laugh at your dreams, or leave you with what seems like nothing. But resilience has a way of turning discarded gravel into a lasting legacy. And sometimes, the greatest treasure the world will ever discover is the strength you refuse to surrender.